Welcome back to Two Pretty Good Bad Men, an Alias Smith & Jones podcast. I'm your darling Clementine, and today we are covering Season 3, Episode 4, The Clementine Ingredient. This was shot mid-August of 1972, and it aired on October 7th, 1972. The story was by Roy Huggins, and the teleplay was by Gloriette Clark. 2 women writers in a row. Can they do that? And this episode was directed by Jack Arnold. Clark started out as an editor. She edited a total of 8 episodes of ASJ, starting with Season 1's The Girl in Boxcar No. 3, and she edited this episode too. Her first editing job, according to IMDb, was the TV movie Who Killed the Mysterious Mr. Foster. She worked as an editor on The Bold Ones, The Lawyers, for which she received an Emmy nomination, Beretta, The Greatest American Hero, Hardcastle and McCormick, Riptide, and The A-Team. As a writer, she wrote for The Bold Ones, The Lawyers, again, Toma, The Rockford Files, Beretta, and City of Angels. She will go on to write one more ASJ episode. She also directed 1 episode of Riptide. She passed away in 2014 at age 80 after a battle with Parkinson's disease. Our guest stars are once again a few familiar faces. Obviously, Sally Field is back as Clementine Hale, Mills Watson in his 4th and final ASJ appearance. This time he's playing a man named Chester. And also returning is Ramon Bieri as Ted Thompson. You may remember him as the sheriff from The Fifth Victim. We do have one new actor. Alejandro Rey is playing the alcalde Ramon Cordoba, the same character as the one in Miracle in Santa Marta. I mentioned this in that episode that the original actor Nico Menardos was let go due to pressure from Latin groups wanting Latin actors to play Latin characters. What a concept. So the Greek Menardos was replaced by the Argentinian Rey. Rey knew Sally Field very well, according to IMDb, even dated her for a bit. But aside from that, he was a regular on her show The Flying Nun. He moved to the U.S. as an adult and became a citizen in 1967, the same year The Flying Nun debuted. He was already working a lot on TV before he got that gig. He was on Thriller, Naked City, Death Valley Days, Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea, I Spy, Daniel Boone, The FBI, and It Takes a Thief. Hey, girl, it's been a while since we've seen It Takes a Thief. Post-Flying Nun, he worked on Gunsmoke, Night Gallery, Police Story, Kung Fu, Macmillan and Wife, Flamingo Road, The Fall Guy, Fantasy Island, and his last credit, The A-Team. He also had a stint on the soap opera Days of Our Lives. He passed away at only 57 in 1987 from lung cancer. With all that said, let's talk about Clem's second and final episode of ASJ. This is The Clementine Ingredient. Sneak peek sees the boys and Clementine in jail. The alcalde wants to know why exactly they've been arrested. Well, because this man Thompson has legitimate warrants, and they are well-known outlaws. Uh-oh. Credits. Rewind to the boys riding through Moab again. They really make good use of their location shooting. I have to give it up for them. Anyway, they just replayed the last scene from the last episode, with Hayes stopping them and saying they can't go to Mexico without Clementine. Can't they, though? Can't they? Alejandro Rey gets the special guest star credit this week, and the boys ride off through the gorgeous scenery until they reach Clem's house. They greet each other very warmly, and she gets to make out with him again. She tells them it's lucky they showed up now, because for a few months guys were showing up at her place and watching it, presumably in case Hayes and Kid showed up. But she hasn't seen anyone in about a month. She starts making them food when they tell her that they're rich now, rich enough to hide out in Mexico for a whole year. At first she looks sad, but when Kid tells her that they want to take her with them, she's thrilled. The only catch is she has to marry one of them, because that's the only way it would look legit. Okay, and it wouldn't look weird to have a married couple with a permanent third wheel? That would be normal? She stops them because she's suspicious that they're going through all this just so they can get that photo she has of the 2 of them. They promise her that that's not the case. She buys it for now and then wants to know which one of them she has to marry. Or pretend to marry, anyway. The guys quickly make their goodnights. They'll figure that out in the morning. When morning comes, we see a posse sneak up towards Clem's house. Inside, the guys play a quick card game to decide who should be her groom. Naturally, Hayes wins. So Clem sidles up to her new man, and he's like, "Whoa, baby, I won. That means Kid is your husband." Yep, she marries the loser. Ouch. Way to hurt a girl's ego. Kid says that the single one gets more freedom. And yes, I can see how it would be hard on the kid who can barely turn the corner without scooping up some damsel in distress. Before they can get any further, the posse starts firing into the house. This posse is led by one Ted Thompson. He orders them to come out and Clem won't get hurt. Clem swears again that she hasn't seen anyone in over a month. So they must have spotted them at some point, right? Otherwise, how did they know? Pure coincidence? The boys try and start a dialogue with Thompson. Hayes wants to work out a deal. Thompson is super not about coming inside to talk to them. They go back and forth a few times when they offer to send Clem out as a hostage in exchange for Thompson coming in. And Clem is not about that life. They ask her if they'd ever let anything happen to her, and she replies without hesitation that yes, they would. I mean, that's probably fair. Eventually, Thompson and Clem agree, and Clem goes outside, and Thompson goes inside. And Kid says the word confab. Was that an 1800s word? Really? While the exchange is happening, Hayes frantically writes something down on a sheet of paper. More on that in a moment. When Thompson gets inside, he explains that they're not lawmen, they're just some guys from town who got together to keep an eye on Clementine's place once in a while, just in case Hannibal Hayes or Kid Curry showed up. And they'll all split the reward. He claims that there's 20 of them outside, but there's only like 4. Hayes tells him that $1,000 each isn't exactly a lot of money, and he might remember that they robbed the Red Gap Bank about 3 months ago. Point for continuity for the man who broke the bank at Red Gap. So they convince him that they have $500,000. Hayes says that they're going to give all that money to Thompson. After all, he's not a lawman, so it's not illegal to take the money from them, and it's not illegal to let them go. So they claim. He gets the money, and they get to leave with Clem. Hayes retrieves the sheet of paper he was writing on and gives it to Thompson, claiming that it's his half of the map. Kid has the other half. Thompson deduces that they must not trust each other very much, which is kind of funny because I can't imagine a scenario in which either of them would ever hide money from the other, or steal from the other. They always refer to any money they have as theirs, not mine, no matter who technically acquired it. Meanwhile, outside, the rest of the posse asks Clem which of the boys she's sweet on. Neither. Well, which one is she in love with? Both. Well, that's just not decent. And then she says they're like big brothers to her. Okay, well now you're just being confusing, Clem. You don't typically fall in love with your siblings. Thompson lures a couple more men inside and the boys immediately disarm them. He gets Thompson to tie them up. They call him a traitor, but he insists that they were going to kill him if he didn't go along with them. With those two tied up, they send him outside with a bottle of booze. He gets the other 3 to come inside by saying that they have Hayes and Curry all settled, and as soon as they come out, the boys disarm them too. Well, now that we're nearly halfway through the episode, the plot can finally kick in. The trio travel down to Santa Marta, and the alcalde greets them like a friend. He says he wants to make amends to the kid for the unforgivable manner in which he was treated last time he was there. Oh yeah, remember Kid and the alcalde had that weird enemy sexual attraction thing happening? Sadly, that won't be present this time since it's a new actor playing him and they don't have the same chemistry. Anyway, Kid introduces him to his wife, Clementine, and Clem is immediately smitten. For some reason. Anyway, the alcalde invites the 3 of them to dinner. They get to their villa and it's lovely and huge. I would live there. But Kid is pissed off that Clem has been flirting with the alcalde. Oh, but he's so handsome, she argues. Again, to each their own. Not my type. Kid scolds her, and I really don't like it. I get that he's worried about their cover being blown, but he's a little harsh with her. Meanwhile, Thompson is searching for the boys' money, and he stops an indigenous man while studying the map. He asks them what happened to the mountain that should be there. The man looks at him incredulously as they take in all the flat land surrounding them, and then he just says, maybe the white man stole it like he stole everything else. Back in Santa Marta, the boys, Clem, and the alcalde are having dinner. The alcalde wants to know more about their business, since they're awful young to be retired, as they claim they were last time they met him. Well, they backtrack on that and said they're not really retired, they're just taking a year off. Like the gap year between high school and college. And Clem keeps on flirting with him. Back at the villa, Kid scolds her again. I think this is really getting to his ego at this point, and Hayes just seems amused by the whole thing. Thompson realizes that he's been had and is now searching for the boys and Clementine. He bribes the railroad ticket taker guy into telling him which train they took when they stopped there. Back in Santa Marta, Clem is out for a ride in a buggy when the horse gets spooked and takes off. The alcalde spots the situation and races to her rescue. See, this is why women shouldn't do things or go places by themselves. They need men to do that for them. When they stop, she swoons in his arms and he offers to drive her back to the villa. Oh, how romantic. Meanwhile, the boys are tearing the place apart looking for that photograph. So it was about the picture. Or partly about the picture. Or maybe they're just bored and they thought they'd look for it to pass the time. Anyway, they can't find it and Kid suspects she didn't even bring it. Hayes knows she wouldn't leave it in Denver because she wouldn't leave blackmail material behind. Well, if you know that, then why did you take her with you? Clem walks in on them searching her room. She gets all indignant and pouty and says, oh, they've broken her heart. And then the guys suck up to her and love on her, and come on, seriously? They cannot be buying this. Besides, she claims that she did leave it in the safe deposit box back in Denver. Thompson is riding the stage down to Santa Marta, and his unsightly snoring is really annoying the stuffy couple who are riding with him. The woman has this look of, well, I never. Cut to Clem staring lovingly at the photo of the boys. And it is like the exact same picture as before, only with Roger instead of Pete. And it just weirds me out when they flat out make them recreate something that they've already done with Pete. That's the most ghoulish part of all this for me. It's bad enough I have to see the recreated Lom scene every time the opening credits come on. I don't want to see the picture too. Then again, maybe they didn't recreate it. Maybe they used 1970s Photoshop, whatever that was. Clem goes to see the alcalde. She wants to keep the photo in his safe. She seals it in an envelope and tells him that it's very important and he mustn't give it to anyone except her. He happily obliges. They get real close and she says she's never met anyone like him before. He expresses the same and then they kiss. He pulls away and apologizes for the advance. She says, no, it was all her fault, and they do have chemistry, and I guess they worked closely together for 3 years on The Flying Nun, so it makes sense. I don't think he's handsome, not with that mustache, but there is something charming about him, so I kind of get it. While the boys are playing cards, Clem comes back and says that they have to leave immediately. Clem comes back and tells them that they have to leave immediately because she and the alcalde did the horizontal tango. Okay, they just kissed, but, imagine. Kid acts so betrayed by this, and Hayes does not want to leave. He says they'll just have to find a way to fix things. Clem argues that he's the first man she's ever met that's hotter than Hayes and Kid. Okay, now that is objectively untrue. Again, maybe without the mustache. Anyway, she says she can't stay there when she feels so strongly about him. Before they can argue further, Thompson is suddenly inside the villa. Do they not lock the doors? Anyway, he takes them all to jail. Back to the sneak peek. The alcalde asks the boys if it's true that they robbed trains. Well, only freight trains, but if Hayes had had an education, he could have stole the whole railroad. And that's probably true. Hayes is brilliant without a formal education. Imagine if he'd have gone to college. Clem tells the alcalde the truth, and he immediately releases her because Thompson does have warrants for Hayes and Kid, but not for his beloved Clementine. He escorts her out of the jail while the boys helplessly watch. The alcalde and Clementine have a private dinner, and he says he knew she wasn't in love with her husband, but still cared for him, and until now he didn't understand why. She tells him that Hayes and Kid are her family, and her real family's gone. What happened to her father? The one who was in jail? The one who the entire plot of Dreadful Sorry Clementine was about? Remember? She was clearing his name and setting him free. Guess he died off screen. She tries to convince him to set the boys free. She says they're trying to go straight and that prison is meant to reform, but Hayes and the Kid are already reformed. That's actually a fair point. They're not a danger to anyone, and it's not like any of the money they stole is going to be returned if they end up in prison, so what's the point? Just let them go. She tells him about the amnesty deal with Governor Warren. Still, he can't do it. He swore an oath to Santa Marta and its citizens. The next morning, Thompson goes to see the alcalde asking to see his prisoners. He lets him into the jail, but it's empty. Thompson accuses him of letting them escape. How dare he suggest such a thing? The alcalde is so full of dignity that even though he and Kid don't have their thing going on anymore, I think I like him better than I did before. Out on the road, the boys are walking along when a stage stops and picks them up. And guess who's already on it? Clementine. She explains that the alcalde changed his mind and decided to let them go, but he'd have to give up Clementine. Oh, what a tragic love story. She asks the guys if he just said that to get rid of her or if he's really that principled. They assure her that he really is just that principled, and that's not a lie. He really, really is. Like, he was fully prepared to execute the kid last episode, even though he liked him. Oh yeah, and most of, if not all of their money is now gone. Because he made the boys give them $2,000 apiece to build a new school in Santa Marta before he let them go. I guess that evens out his conscience. And then they bicker about the photograph again. But with the way Clem practically begged the alcalde to let the boys go, I don't think she'd ever actually turn them in. And we get our Season 3 riding and vibing tag with the guys. He says he's been thinking that they should pull one more bank job. All they'll have to do is break into the Denver bank and steal Clem's picture. Kid said he should go ahead and try it. He'll be in Canada. The end. I mean, this one's fine. I like it better than Clem's other episode, and she comes off a lot better in this one, too. The scenes between her and the alcalde are actually kind of nice. I wish it hadn't taken them nearly half the episode for them to even get to the Santa Marta stuff, but whatever. The Thompson stuff was just not interesting to me. There was some good banter between the boys and Clem, and they all came across as loving each other very much. The line of the episode goes to Hayes. It's not a funny one, though. It's during the standoff with Thompson and his men, he says, quote, "Somehow it's always easier to talk brave than be brave," end quote. It's kind of like being on the internet, right? And the episode goes to the alcalde. I mean, the boys would have been screwed if he hadn't let them go. For a modest fee. Next time on Alias Smith & Jones, the boys get roped into joining a cattle drive. Research for this podcast comes mainly from the wonderful book Alias Smith & Jones, The Story of Two Pretty Good Bad Men, by Sandra K. Sagala and Joanne M. Bagwell. Thanks for listening.